Good evening and welcome to another episode of Get Awesome. I am Jen, the original goddess, and with me is my co host,
I'm
Coach Katie. Go ahead.
certified Oola life coach, Katie.
All right. And me and Coach Katie, as you know, our show is set up with, or at least I hope you know anyway, our show is set up to come to you, air with you twice a month. The early part of the month is our inspiration call, in which we speak about a very specific topic. And this call, the end of the month, is our accountability check in call that really revisits the topic, but from the perspective of how you are doing with the topic and trying to incorporate it within your lives. Katie and I will continue to talk about the topic and then jump in. If you are on the chat, then just jump in and give us your feedback, and we will chat with you. And if not, Katie and I will continue chatting because nothing stops us from doing that. So our inspiration call was about the key blockers that we face in life, and it was based on the 7 blockers of Oola, and those were fear, guilt, anger, self-sabotage, laziness, envy, and we had also discussed jealousy, to contrast envy, and focus. So with that, I'm going to pass you to Coach Katie to kick off this accountability check-in moment. Go ahead, Katie.
Thanks, Glenn. If you're joining us live on this, if you please put a comment in the comment field so we can welcome you aboard and thank you for calling us. And if at the top of the comment box, you should see a link about click on this for StreamYard, because if you don't allow StreamYard access, all we'll see in your comment is Facebook user, so we won't know who it is. And all that does is so your name will pop up in the comments. All right. So thanks for joining us tonight. We're talking about the Oola blockers, and the blockers are what gets in the way of the life we want. And as Jen said, there are 7 of them. We all want a life of less stress, more balance, and a greater purpose. But we all have things that can get in our way that stop us. Probably the number one blocker is fear. 2 places fears die. I mean, 2 places dreams die is the blockers, and because people don't know how to tactically set goals. We make some nebulous goal, like which really isn't a very strategic goal. It isn't a smart goal. It isn't specific. It isn't measurable. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Sorry about that. Fear is sort of the number one blocker that gets in our way. We're afraid. We're afraid we'll fail. Some of us may be even afraid we'll succeed, and then our friends won't, our friends and our family won't want to have anything to do with us because they're going to be judging us. We're afraid that we're not good enough, that we're not worthy. I mean, there are all sorts of fears we have. The trick with fear is to use fear. Well, the trick with all of these is to use them as motivators, or to use them to push through. And now we talked about, for all of these blockers, the way to get through them is a process called ready, set, go. And so ready is when you just call the fear out, whatever it is, right? Like for me, one of my fears is that I don't know enough and I won't be good enough at this. That nobody will watch, or I'll be judged. So that's my ready. I'm just call out that fear. The set part of this is to put the fear in its place. And what that means is to, and I would encourage everybody, when you do the ready, set, go, is write this out. Write it down. What's stopping you? What's the fear? And then for the set part is put it in its place. Put that fear in its place. What does your life look like if you give into that fear and you don't move on? Then the second part of the set part is, what does it look like if you push through? if you either use your fear as a motivator or as a propeller for what you're facing, um, what does your life look like if you can push through that? And then the go part is the action steps that you need to take to push through that. It's that 20 seconds of courage. It's that answering that email. It's picking up the phone and making that call. Um, it's whatever you decide you need to do to push through that. The second one is guilt. And we all feel guilty. We all will experience all of these blockers at some point in our lives. The trick is to not let the blockers determine the direction of your life. So guilt, the way you get through guilt is forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness from God. Ask for forgiveness from the person you hurt. Um, make it right. Atone for it, and forgive yourself. Um, so no matter what you've done or failed to do, you are enough, and you are worthy, and you should not let your life be weighed down by guilt.
So, Katie, before you go on to the third one, I want to go back, step back a bit with the fear piece. I
Okay.
think you said a key word, which was courage. I think courage is so critical to combat the fear, but also is faith. I think those two things are what's needed to combat the fear. And the more that you are able to leverage courage and leverage faith and walk on those two steps, is the way that you actually lessen the fear. The fear never goes away, but it can be reduced. And always call it a game of numbers. When you start out, fear is, say, 90%, and you have 10% of courage. What you're looking to do is to boost those numbers of courage up and the number of faith up and lessen the number of fear. And in that way, then you start to manage fear much better. When it comes to guilt, one of the key questions I certainly ask in my coaching when people come forward with guilt, and I hear it all the time, is whether the guilt is even real. Many times it's in their own heads of something that they think they have done or something that they feel this guilty emotion about, but it's actually not always realistic. Right? It's their own stories playing their own thoughts, making them feel guilty. And a lot of times, even when they face a person that they think that they've done and they say it, the person's like, really? Is that where you really carrying that? Because I
Right.
forgot about that. Like, that happened. I didn't take it the way you think I took it, or something like that. So I think a key part is the guilt even warranted? But for the individual to get past the guilt, yes, absolutely support forgiveness first of themselves. But the other question is whether it's even warranted.
And that's really good because I never even really thought about that. And you said something that I keyed in on, that people listen to that voice in their head, and I think that's true for all of these blockers. Is
Mhm.
it's our story that we tell ourselves, no matter as we go through these blockers, no matter what the blocker is, it's the story that we're telling ourselves that we aren't enough, we aren't good enough, we aren't smart enough, we aren't pretty enough, um, you know, we aren't worthy of this. It'll never work. And we've learned those stories really from other people,
Mhm.
whether it was maliciously done or whether they think they're being helpful, trying to save you from going down the wrong road, um, or you misinterpreted what they said. Um, and so that's, you need to change your story. You need to listen to what you're telling yourself, and you need to change that. The next blocker is anger, and anger can kill more dreams than anything. It will crush their dreams, and it'll crush the dreams of everybody around you. And there are all sorts of health studies that have been done about what anger does to your body and what it releases. It releases cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and just sort of magnifies it. So anger is really when you take action on your frustration. We all get frustrated, right? With traffic, with our kids, with our computers, with our coworkers, with our bosses. We all get frustrated. But if you take action on that frustration and you start lashing out and start yelling, and it just, it affects everybody. I mean, you may feel better after you've gone on a rant, but I can guarantee you that the people around you don't feel better. You've made them all feel worse. And I can also tell you that in your own body systems, you know, after you go on a rant and you yell and you scream and you throw things, your stress level is up, and it takes hours for that stuff to come back down to a manageable level. Your adrenaline levels go up, your cortisol levels go up. So if you don't have any anger issues, work on issues that frustrate you. And I get really frustrated driving, a slow driver. So I know for me, that's one of the things that I need to like sort of work on. And I took a page from Tony Robbins, who said that he had to find a positive word, a new word to use when something is making you mad or you're starting to get frustrated. And his word was fantastic. So when somebody would give him news that was going to set him off on a rant, he would say, well, isn't that fantastic? Right? My word is fabulous. So I use fabulous a lot in the car. When somebody makes me catch a red light because they were on their phone and weren't watching the light, I always have to tell myself, well, isn't that fabulous? Aren't you just a fabulous person driving? And it does make a difference, that I don't find myself getting, that frustrated and stressed out about it. The next blocker was self-sabotage. This is where you feel unworthy. And this is sort of what I was talking about a couple minutes ago. 2 words we've all heard is, you are. You are not good enough. You are not smart enough. You are not pretty enough. You're not tall enough. You're not rich enough, whatever. And we heard this so many times that we internalize that. So we tell ourselves, I am not worthy. I'm not smart enough to do this. So 2 words you can use to change this are I am.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. That is exactly what I was going to say. What are the 2 words that can change that? You are, and you respond, I am. Not, and without the not.
I am.
Not. I
Whatever
am.
follows those 2 words affects your belief and your actions. So you need to continue. If you need to tell yourself this every time you look in a mirror, do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I am worthy. I am enough. I am smart enough. I am creative enough. I am clever enough. I am kind. I am generous. I am loving.
Yeah.
And you can use, if you're into tapping, which I just learned about courtesy of another class I'm taking, which Jen is leading, about the tapping solution, which I'm seeing more and more about online. And you use the I am statements when you're doing the tapping solution. So, that's another choice. Another one, laziness. I get that, right? It's a huge blocker for a lot of us, but most people don't want to really admit that they're lazy, right? Who wants to raise their hand and say, well, I didn't get that done because I was lazy?
Everybody takes that to be a harsh statement, right? But let's all face it. I even get lazy moments. And when I get lazy moments, I don't apologize. I just be lazy. So sometimes it's fine to just say, especially if you are someone that works really hard, it is okay to have a lazy day. It is okay. That's part of self-love. It is when you are lazy in your aspirations or lazy in things you actually need to do to move yourself forward, and you're choosing, not to do it. You're putting it off. And usually tied with laziness is procrastination. That's usually what's tied with laziness. You procrastinate on it, procrastinate on it. Many times it's things you don't like to do. So you guess what? Get somebody else to do it.
Right. And Jen's right. I like to take, unfortunately, I don't take a day a week. Sometimes it's a day a month where, and I've not done it in a while, and I need to do it again. And I learned this from another sort of lifestyle girl, that one Sunday a month, is like her lazy day, and she
Hmm.
spends the entire day in bed. She stays in her pajamas, and she, has tea, and she has favorite books she's reading, you know, and she's off social media, and she doesn't do any work related stuff. She doesn't do any like house, like the laundry, because you can take your lazy day and you can spend your lazy day like vacuuming and dusting your house and doing laundry and going to the grocery store and meal planning and all of that stuff. That's not a lazy day.
That's not a lazy day. No.
You know, a lazy day is staying in your pajamas the whole day and not getting out of bed. Just,
Hmm.
surround yourself with what makes you happy, what uplifts you, tea, coffee, a croissant, whatever, and you spend the day
Doing absolutely nothing.
like doing absolutely nothing.
Doing absolutely nothing.
But again, if laziness, if you find yourself, like Jen said, putting stuff off day after day, week after week, and before you know it, look, we're almost up to June 1st. Where has the first half of the year gone? Right? We're 5 months into the year. What have we done? What have we accomplished? How closer to our dreams are we? Are we taking those steps every day, those tiny steps? Remember, right? If you want to lose 50 pounds, you're not going to lose 50 pounds from January 1st to January 31st, right? But you can be making those incremental changes on a daily basis, right?
Hmm.
To eat, um, to eat better, right? To maybe walk after dinner. Although when it's 90 degrees here in South Carolina, the outside outside walking stuff in the heat and humidity, sort of goes by the wayside. Um, but you just have to start. I mean, it's the final step in that ready, set, go. It's the go part is to just do it. Just pick up the phone, make that call, answer that email, check out that website. If today's a gym day and you don't feel like going, put on your gym clothes instead of your regular clothes first thing in the morning. So you're dressed for gym. Put
Yeah.
your gym bag by the door. So when time comes for you to leave, you don't have to stop and think, but my water bottle's not filled and I don't have any clean gym clothes. And, what all those other excuses we have. You just 5 seconds and you're, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like, as Mel Robbins says. Next booker was envy. Envy can be holding you back from living your Oola life. Now, envy is different from jealousy. Jealousy is, and we all can suffer from this from time to time, is particularly if you're wrapped up in social media. Jealousy is wanting what somebody else has, right? What's on social media is a highly curated look at somebody's life. They're not showing you the laundry room with the pile of laundry stacked up on the dryer, right? They're showing you this beautiful life of, morning coffee, watching the birds, and, playing on the floor with my grandchild or my daughter, or, you know, having a date night with my husband he took me out to the nicest restaurant in town. All of that is fabulous, right? But if that's all we're seeing of people's lives, that's all we start thinking their whole life is just this one, it's living the Cinderella dream, right? They've met their Prince Charming and they're in the castle and everything's wonderful. We're not seeing the mess that people have, and we all have messes. And so we get jealous. I want her life. Look at that. She's at the beach again,
Right.
right? Why can't I have that? Envy is not only do you want what somebody else has, you don't want them to have it either, which is worse. Horrible. Um, and now I don't suffer from envy, and I will admit that before I started my Oola training, I used those words interchangeably, right? Somebody would post a picture of being, at the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and my comment back to them was, "Oh, how beautiful! I'm so envious. Wish I was there." Well, that's not really the right word if you look at their definition of envy. I don't want them to not be at the beach. I just would like to be at the beach, right?
Yeah.
Um, so use what other people post, which you think, wow, that's wonderful. I wish I could do that, as inspiration, as motivation, right? Consider the source, right? That's doing the posting. and how well you know that person, and then use it as motivation, right? If she can write a book, I can write a book, right? She doesn't have any more education than me, any more life experience than me, right? If she can go to the beach, well, why can't I go to the beach, right? Start putting aside my money, right? So use it as inspiration to move you towards what that person has that you want.
The other thing I want to point out, Katie, that I'm hoping those watching really do start to see is all of these things: guilt, anger, envy, laziness, procrastination, jealousy, self sabotage, fear. They all take huge, huge amounts of energy and effort to maintain. If you were to even take a portion of that effort and energy and applied it to what you really want to go after, wow, can you imagine how far people would move? As I'm sitting here listening to you, I was just amazed that I'm thinking, God, that takes effort. Envy takes effort. Oh my God, I don't have time for that. Jealousy takes effort. I don't have time for As you were talking, I was thinking, like, how do people maintain this type of thing? I don't know how they maintain these types of, blockers. Takes energy.
It does, but I don't think that people realize how much energy it's taking.
But that is it. And that's why I wanted to speak to it. I recognize people don't realize it. But, if you want to move the needle for you from A to M, and these blockers are stopping you from moving that needle, and that move, in order to move that needle, takes effort and it takes energy. But all of these, whether it's stories running in your head, things people said, routines, thoughts that you're going through, I just want people to realize it takes equal amounts of energy, if not more energy, to maintain that's holding you back than to put some of that energy into moving that needle. So that's something I just want people to maybe change a little bit their perspectives, and maybe it might help to motivate them to say, I'm not doing this anymore, both to myself or to anybody else. That's what I'm hoping happens.
Well, me too. And I think for me, I believe that a lot of this goes back again to the stories we're telling ourselves, right? That no matter what the blocker is, we start listening to that inner voice, whatever
Yeah.
you call it, the mean girl, the mean guy, devil talk, whatever it is, it's the story we're telling ourselves. If it's um, guilt, it's my fault. I am useless, right? If it's
Hmm.
I am not worthy. I can't do this. I am stupid. If it's self sabotage, it's I am not worthy. Who do I think I am? To try and do
Yeah.
it. It's the story that you're hearing in your head that you need to start paying attention to, and you need to start really making a conscious effort to change that story.
Yeah.
Because look, I've said this a million times and I will say it a million more times. You were created by God for greatness and a purpose. Why settle for ordinary when extraordinary is within you? God, and some people say God doesn't make trash. God didn't make trash. It's what you have the key to your mind,
Yeah.
right? You have the ability to decide who are you going to let into your
Mhm.
mind. So stop letting people trash talk you into your mind.
We're all perfectly made. That's how I say it. We are all perfectly made.
Right.
And that's why I hate the word normal, because what people perceive as normal, is not normal. We are all perfectly made. So we just have to believe in that and leverage what we innately were given to move ourselves forward and then serve others and help them move forward. That's what life is all about. So you're absolutely right. And these things just hold you back. So the last blocker then is focus. So tell us about that.
Okay, there are two different types of focus. Um, there is a lack of focus, which I have been known to suffer on, right? That's the squirrel syndrome, the shiny object syndrome. The going through Facebook and somebody recommends a book, and what do? Stop going through Facebook and I go over to Amazon to look at the book to see if I want to order the book, right? Um, getting sucked down the rabbit hole on YouTube is a lack of focus. I can do that, particularly with the videos of people that are on like America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent, or because I'm just in awe of these people who have these incredible voices. So I can get stuck, and waste 30, 45 to 60 minutes just clicking one video after another to watch these singers go, right? So I know that sometimes if I go over to YouTube to watch something, and you know how they have those videos that run down
Yep.
the side.
And now, and especially if you have autoplay on. Wow.
Well, I stop, I have to
Hmm.
make a conscious effort once this video's done that I'm watching because it pertains to sort of this topic and these types of thoughts. I have to make a conscious effort to go and X out of YouTube because I know me, and I know I'll go down the rabbit hole on that.
Hmm.
So you know what gets you distracted, and so it's the ready, set, go, right? What gets you distracted, and what do you need to do to stop getting distracted? So there's lack of focus, and then the worst one is misdirected focus. And misdirected focus are your addictions: alcohol, gambling, porn, social media, shopping, whatever that is. And for a lot of those, if you suffer from any of those, really before you can do anything, you need to get your arms around that, right? If you are addicted to alcohol or gambling, until you get your arms around that and set yourself on a path to recovery, um, none of this other stuff really matters because it takes over your entire life, right?
Hmm.
You're an alcoholic, you're always focused on where that next drink is, right? If you're addicted to pain meds, what am I going to do when I run out of my pain meds, right? Can I find a doctor to give me another prescription? I've got to find somebody I can buy them off the street. No, I can't go through with it. You've got to get help. And at least for me, and I suspect for Jen, the type of coaching I do is not that type of help.
Yeah.
I am not equipped to help walk somebody through these types of addictions. So I can only hope and pray that you recognize you've got one of these addictions and that you find somebody, someplace in your community who can help you start your way back to the light, start your way back to health and wholeness and joy
Hmm.
and contentment. So those are all our blockers. So
Absolutely. So those are all the Oola blockers. So, and we have the ready, set, go exercise for them to help them in terms of approaching, getting over these. So that's on our Facebook group. So I'd ask you to, go over there, join our Facebook group. It's public. It's called Get Awesome on Facebook, and that's where also you can watch the show. But you can definitely get the guides that are in that group to help move you forward. So with that, we want you and your life to be ooh la la awesome. And that means addressing and becoming aware. First of all, becoming aware of these things. It's, I call it waking up to what you're doing to yourself. You're not necessarily always doing it to other people. We are doing it to ourselves. So, first, you must become aware to be able to trigger yourself that, oh, it's fear stopping me. Oh, I'm self sabotaging. And then you look to correct the behavior or to move yourself away from that. So there's a number of things we said. I am does it, right?
mhm.
When somebody says you are not, you say not yet. When somebody says no, you turn and you go next opportunity, right? One of a wonderful acronym that people like for fear is face everything and rise instead of actual fear. So, however, whatever method you choose to pull forward for yourself and hold on to change from the from the behavior that's just holding you back, you choose. But remember, still, it's a choice because that's the only thing between our birth and our death is choices. So make the right choice for yourself. And that's what Katie and I want for you. Any lasting words, Katie, before we wrap up?
Just another tool, and I wish I could remember the man's name. And I think I saw him on um, Jamie Kern Lima's book launch thing, and he says he uses a scratch that thing when thoughts come into his head that aren't serving him or aren't helping him serve others. He always just sort of, when he first started out, he would physically do like scratch that, like cross out that thought, cross out that thought,
Hmm.
move on to something, and then replace it with a positive thought.
Yeah, and what I would call out is you notice that you talked about Tony Robbins having a particular word. You talked about a word that you use, and this person uses scratch out. There's other things, but what you're doing is that you're using those is starting to reuse those. You're changing that number game I talked about earlier, and you're starting to make the other behavior more dominant. And that's really all that you're doing. So choose whatever it is that you need. What is that safe thing for you, or what's that trigger point that changes thing. It's wonderful. So just please choose something for yourself and keep using it, and get to a more positive dominant behavior than the holdbacks and the blockers.
Right. Do we want to talk about next month briefly?
Next month, what are we doing next month?
We're doing the Oola accelerators.
Woo!
So what can you use in your life to help accelerate you towards your goal? And so our inspiration call is June 2nd.
Yes, next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, we'll be talking about the Oola accelerators. So please join us for that.
Exciting. Now that's where we start to, because that's where we want you accelerated.
Right.
So that's going to be exciting. So we will see you next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Join the Facebook group, sign up, be part of that. You'll get notified when we go live. And from there, we will be seeing you. So thank you so much. And we will be out of your here now. Ciao. Good night, everybody.
Good night.